Patty Bennett with PattyStamps.com. I am a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and I'm excited to share with you some tips about making these beautiful paper flowers. This is created with the spiral flower die from Stampin' Up! This is new in the Occasions catalog, which is spring of 2014. I know it's really hard to see just in black, but that is what it looks like. And this is the little instruction sheet that comes with it with some tips and instructions. But I thought I'd give you a few extra instructions. Now the great thing is it just takes a quarter sheet of cardstock. So just the 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and you can cut up to 4 to 6 at a time. So if you want to save some time and stack up, a few sheets, you can cut them all at once. When you run them through the Big Shot, they are going to come out of the die looking like this. And what I learned from Wendy Cranford, who has been playing with this die, was to cut 2 coordinating colors and use them together. So I'm going to show you that. First, let me show you a close-up of some of these pretty flowers. These were made by cutting 2 different colors and rolling them together at once. I also sponged, I spritzed, I scrunched. I'm going to show you all those tips today. And if you just cut them and roll them just plain without doing any scrunching or any extra distressing or anything, you're going to get a pretty flower that looks like this. Cindy Wilkinson made these for me. They're just beautiful. You can see they're really 3D and just gorgeous. And then I just made this one using the Coordinations cardstock, which I'm going to show you today, because that is super easy to distress. And I kind of wanted a vintage looking flower, and I wanted it kind of smashed, and you can see that it is flat. Not completely flat, but flattened. So I'm going to give you my tips for making this one. You may have seen this on my blog. I put 3 different clusters of flowers on there, and in my blog post I noted that my friend Lisa and Cindy and I got together and we were all making flowers. So these 2 were mine, and these 2 were Cindy's, and these 3 were Lisa's. We all basically used the same method, and it was interesting how different they came out. So let me show you what I did. So here are the 2 that I cut from the Coordinations cardstock. I've got Primrose Petals and Cherry Cobbler. You could do any 2 colors that you like. They can either be shades that go together like this, or they could be completely different shades like Cindy did on this one with pink and a blue. So whatever you'd like to do, but this is what I chose to do. And you want to give it some distressing if you want it to be a little bit flattened and give it some texture and dimension like this. So to do that, there are several different things you can do. One thing I did was I grabbed my sanding block, and this sanding block system has Velcro removable sanding pads so that you can sand different colors and replace your pad for each different color. And when they wear out, then you can just replace the pad. So I went around and I sanded just kind of medium. I didn't do it really hard, and I didn't use a real light hand either. So let me just do this other one real quick. So normally when you're using the Coordinations cardstock and your sanding block, you will have textured this paper with an embossing folder first. That's usually what people would do with this cardstock. But as you can see, it gives a really nice texture along the edges if you just do it without embossing it first. Then the next thing I'm going to do is take my bone folder, and I just want to kind of break down the fibers of the paper and start the whole thing in this spiral curl. Now, whether or not you want it vintagey or just, okay, that's not a problem. I'm going to show you. I've done this about 5 times on the flowers I was working on, and I just go ahead and take a little piece of Scotch tape and I taped it back together. I did this, I think 4 or 5 times on this flower, and you can't even tell. It's fine. So I'm kind of glad it happened so I could show you that. But whether or not you want to distress and make your flower vintage, you still want to do this with the bone folder. You want to break down those fibers and get it to start to curl. Just don't pull too hard and it won't rip. But like I said, if it rips, no problem. Just go ahead and use some Scotch tape. So now you can see how they're already starting to spiral upward. That's what you want. You want to get it to curl a little bit. Now, if you really want to add a lot of distressing, like I did on this one thing you'll want to do is spritz it a bit. And I've just got rubbing alcohol in here, and it's just to wet it a little bit, but you don't want it soaking wet like water would do. And then you're going to crumple. And I know this was killing us when we were trying that. We just thought, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? But you just want to crumple them up like this. That's going to help give it an even more distressed look. Then you open it back up. And this is what I learned from Wendy Cranford in her video, and I just loved it. And that is that you take these 2 colors, you're going to put the lighter color, you can see that, the lighter color on top, so that it has like a shadow of the darker color behind. And you're going to line them up, and then you're going to start to roll them. And this is a great tip also from Wendy, is that you want to use these angled tweezers and grab that end and start to roll with that. That makes this process so easy. And if you don't have those tweezers, you can just roll them around a skewer, or you could just start rolling them with your fingers. But I really found that this made it so easy to grab these kind of tweezers and do this. And just keep your 2 layers lined up together like that and keep rolling. The tighter you pinch and roll, the tighter your little flower is going to be. But I'm going to show you kind of how to open it back up too. Okay, almost to the end here. Alrighty. So when you get towards the end, you're going to have these extra little flaps, and those actually will tuck underneath and make a base for your flower that you can use with hot glue. Then you just pull your tweezers out. And if you wanted just a fairly tight little bud, you would just leave it like this, take those 2 extra flaps and do your hot glue and put those at the bottom. And that would be your little flower, and you can leave it real tight like that if you want to. But if you want to open it up, and I'll show you the difference here, if you want it to keep opening up and flatten out, then all you do is set it down and you just start kind of undoing that spiral, loosening it a bit, and you can start pressing, and you can push outward. And as you can see with this Coordinations paper, it actually starts to split. I think there's about 4 layers of paper in there. And it's easy to see on this one, I'll show you. So this is actually where the paper is actually just splitting. And you can take the tweezers and you can pull those layers of paper apart so that you can get it even fuller looking. And you can keep working with this to unspiral it and make it even bigger. See how I've loosened that? And you can just get it bigger and bigger. And you can start pressing and pressing and pressing. And it'll just start getting larger and larger and flatter and flatter. And another thing you can do with it is to take your sponge and Stampin' Up! Ink pad, and you can give some darker color to the edges here. And then you could even spritz it again if you wanted it to bleed a little bit, and you can just keep working with it and working with it, and then when you're ready to just have it be a flower, you're going to put your hot glue right here, and you're just going to close it up, and then that's going to be your flower. So you can add those to cards, you can add them to frames, you can add them to gift packages. I loved this little tag that Cindy made for me for Christmas. I just thought that was gorgeous. I hope those tips are helpful to you. Just lots of fun different ways that you can use your flowers and come up with all different color combinations and use the coordinations paper or plain cardstock, distress or not distress, and just have fun with those. Enjoy!